Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right, yet the world just doesn't seem to notice? Like you're putting in the work, making the sacrifices, chasing something greater, but all anyone else sees is the silence, the stillness, the absence of results. That feeling of being invisible can be painful. It makes you question if you're even on the right path. But here's something most people never realize. The silence isn't a sign that nothing is happening. It's the strongest part of your growth. The quiet moments, the unnoticed hours, the work no one sees, those are where transformation begins. We live in a world that worships noise. People share every step they take, every thought they have, every move they plan to make. And as if by validation has become more important than progress, it's easy to get caught up in that. It's tempting to prove to others that you're trying, to show them your ambition, to make sure they know you're going places. But the truth is, the more you talk about it, the less pressure you feel to actually do it. The more you chase approval, the more you lose your own focus. Silence isn't emptiness. It's energy conserved. It's strategy in motion. It's the discipline to build when no one is clapping yet. Think about this. Every time you speak on something before it's ready, you open it to doubt, delay, and distraction. People will question your path. They'll give you advice you didn't ask for. They'll project their fears onto your vision. And slowly, you start questioning yourself. Not because you were wrong, but because you gave the wrong people access too early. When you move in silence, you protect your momentum. You give your vision a chance to breathe, to mature, to grow without interference. And when the time comes, your results will speak loudly, clearly, undeniably. You won't have to convince anyone. You won't have to explain your struggle. You won't need to defend your journey. The results will echo louder than any words ever could. That's the power of silence. It builds strength that doesn't need validation. It creates wins that don't need introduction. And it teaches you that real progress doesn't ask for attention. It demands respect. If you've ever felt ignored, misunderstood, or underestimated, you're not alone. But don't let that become your reason to prove something. Let it be your reason to keep going, quietly, relentlessly, and with full belief in what you're building. Because when you stop needing others to see it, you start giving yourself the freedom to actually achieve it. And when it's done, when the results are real and visible, the same silence that once felt lonely becomes your loudest triumph. Stay until the end of this video, because what you're about to discover could shift everything. If you've been moving in silence, if you've been building with your head down, this is your confirmation. You're not behind. You're just preparing for something greater. And when it hits, no one will be able to ignore it. They may not see the hours you put in. They may not understand the sacrifices you've made. But that doesn't mean they won't feel the weight of your results when they finally arrive. What most people don't realize is that the quiet moments, those lonely nights, early mornings, and silent days are where the strongest foundations are built. Not for applause, not for attention, but for mastery, for alignment, for something greater than recognition, for truth. When you choose to move in silence, you choose to be misunderstood, overlooked, and doubted. And that choice takes courage. It takes strength to keep going when no one's cheering. It takes discipline to stay committed when no one's watching. But that's the difference between those who dream and those who deliver. Silence strips away the noise of expectation. It removes the distractions of opinions. It forces you to focus, not on what others think, but on what actually matters, the work, the growth. The inner battles that no one sees but you win every single day. That's where real transformation lives. Not in the noise, but in the quiet resistance. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows where no one gives you credit and you keep building anyway. Most people don't know how to sit with that silence. It feels empty. It feels cold. But silence isn't the absence of movement. It's the space where clarity sharpens. It's where your mind becomes your ally instead of your enemy. It's where the voices of doubt go quiet, not because they stop, but because you stop giving them power. You begin to understand that you don't need permission to rise. You don't need to explain your grind. The path you're on isn't theirs to understand. It's yours to walk. And that walk requires inner peace that can't be shaken by someone else's misunderstanding. They laughed at you. They questioned you. They said it would never work. Good. Let them. Every doubt they throw is fuel. Every eye that overlooks you becomes a reminder. You are not doing this to be seen. You're doing it to become. You're doing it to prove something not to the world, but to yourself. That you have what it takes. That you can stand the silence long enough for the results to make all the noise you never did. That's real power. That's real control. You'll control. That's what makes your success undeniable. Because when it comes, they won't just see it. They'll feel it. And they'll remember all the times they counted you out. Don't seek attention. Seek evolution. Seek the version of yourself that doesn't need praise to keep going. That doesn't need applause to feel worthy. That doesn't need a crowd to stay consistent. Build that version. Trust that version. Because one day, the silence you endured will become the sound of awe in every room you enter. One day, they won't ask what happened. They'll ask how you did it. And the answer will be simple. You moved in silence and let the results speak. If your vision is real, you don't need to convince anyone. You don't need to explain yourself to those who can't see what you see. Most won't understand your hunger. They won't feel your fire. That's not your problem. That's not your problem. That's not your job. Your only responsibility is to keep moving quietly, relentlessly, and with full focus on what you're building. Because when you need validation to move forward, you've already given away your power. When your energy depends on applause, it means your mission isn't anchored in purpose. It's built on approval. And anything built on approval can be destroyed by opinion. There's a deep strength in keeping things to yourself. And not out of fear. And not out of fear, but out of focus. Not because you're hiding, but because you're protecting something sacred. Your goals are not content. Your dreams are not for entertainment. They are your private war, your personal journey, the foundation of the life you're choosing to create. And some things deserve to grow without being seen. Some things need silence to develop strength. Just like a seed breaks open underground long before it becomes a tree, your transformation starts beneath the surface, where no one can praise it and no one can judge it. When you move in silence, you move with clarity. Your path becomes cleaner. Your actions become more intentional. You stop wasting energy trying to prove you're working. And instead, you use that energy to actually work, to refine, to improve, to become the person capable of carrying the results you desire. And that's not always easy. It's tempting to post progress, to prove you're doing something, to shout, "I'm on my way." But the most powerful journeys don't need announcements. They leave evidence. They leave impact. They leave people stunned, not because you talked about it, but because you became undeniable without ever saying a word. Silence is not weakness. It's emotional discipline. It's the refusal to beg for recognition. It's the confidence to know that even in the dark, you are moving forward. Even in the quiet, you are becoming someone the world cannot ignore. You don't have to rush to be seen. You don't have to force anyone to respect your vision. If you stay consistent, if you stay aligned, your work will make the noise for you. And that kind of noise can't be silenced. That kind of noise can't be faked. It only comes from those who dared to build when no one was watching. You are not behind. You are not invisible. You are in the middle of becoming. Every second you stay committed without recognition is a brick in your foundation. Every day you show up without needing praise is a step deeper into your power. So keep going, keep building, keep rising in silence. Because the most unstoppable people in the world are not the ones who talk the loudest. They're the ones who execute in silence and let the results echo louder than anything they could have said. The world is filled with people who start loudly and fade quietly. They shout their intentions, declare their goals, and flood their space with words. But when the work gets hard, when the path gets quiet, they disappear. Because noise is easy. Action is not. Anyone can announce what they're going to do. But few have the courage to actually do it without needing to be seen. That's what separates the committed from the curious. The ones who are truly about it don't talk, they show. They move, they create proof, not promises. And that proof comes from silence, sustained, focused, unbreakable silence. When you keep your moves to yourself, you remove the pressure to perform for others. You stop worrying about timelines that aren't real. You stop racing against people who aren't even in your lane. You realize the only competition is the voice inside that tells you to quit. And that voice gets quieter the more you honor your work instead of your image. It becomes weaker every time you choose execution over explanation. Because the real reward isn't people noticing you. It's becoming so powerful within yourself that no opinion can affect your pace. No doubt can touch your direction. There's a deep psychological shift that happens when you stop needing to be seen. You start thinking clearer. You start moving smarter. Your time becomes sacred. Your energy becomes selective. You no longer react to the noise around you because you're too focused on what you're building inside. That's where transformation truly begins. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows, in the silence, in the discipline of waking up with no praise and still showing up like everything depends on it. Because it does. And you know it. You feel it. Deep down, you know that what you're building is bigger than anyone understands. And that's exactly why you don't share it prematurely. Because the vision is still forming, the foundation is still fragile. Not everyone deserves access to that stage of your journey. Not everyone should get a seat at the table before the table is even built. Silence gives you space to think, to evolve, to learn without interruption. It shields your progress from the weight of expectation. And when it's time, when the results are ready, you won't have to say a word. People will see it, feel it, respect it. Because it won't be words speaking anymore. It will be undeniable evidence of who you've become. So don't worry if no one's asking what you're up to. Don't panic if no one's clapping yet. You're not being overlooked. You're being prepared. You're not falling behind. You're laying bricks. And when the foundation is solid, when the vision is real, you'll rise quietly, strongly, and nothing will stop you. Because those who move in silence are not hiding. They're building something so real, so unshakable, that when it arrives, it doesn't just make noise. It makes history. There is a different kind of strength that grows in silence. No. Not the strength that needs to be seen or applauded, but the kind that hardens in solitude. When you work without validation, when you move without recognition, you begin to realize how much power you've been giving away just by explaining yourself. You reclaim your energy. You take back your focus. Because not everything needs to be shared. Not every idea needs an audience. Some things are meant to be protected, not promoted. The most valuable parts of your journey are not the ones that get posted. They're the ones that get finished. You don't need to declare your goals. You need to dominate them. Quietly, consistently, without turning your life into a performance. Because when you're truly locked in, the outside world becomes background noise. What people think, say, or assume doesn't matter. They don't know what you're building. They don't see the hours, the effort, the obsession. And that's exactly how it should be. You don't need to carry the weight of other people's opinions. You need to carry the responsibility of your own growth. That's where the real work is. Not in proving something to them, but in becoming something for yourself. There's a kind of focus that only silence can give you. When you're not performing for attention, you start performing for results. Your days become intentional. Your actions become surgical. You stop wasting time trying to be impressive and start investing time becoming effective. That shift changes everything. Because now you're not driven by ego. You're driven by discipline, by clarity, by purpose. And when those three align, your progress becomes unstoppable. Not because it's loud, but because it's real. And real work doesn't need to scream. It shows up, it delivers, it wins. You have to trust the silence. Even when it feels like nothing's happening, even when it feels like no one sees you, the truth is, the longer you can work without recognition, the more dangerous your results become. You're sharpening skills. You're building capacity. You're growing into someone that can't be shaken. And that kind of growth, it doesn't need to be seen early. It needs time, space, stillness. Not everything great is loud while it's rising. Some things are only loud when they arrive. So let people doubt. Let them assume you're doing nothing. Let them forget about you. That silence you're walking through now, that's the furnace. That's the proving ground. That's the test. And if you can hold your ground when no one believes in you, imagine how unstoppable you'll be when they finally do. The goal isn't to be seen trying. The goal is to be undeniable once the trying is over. Not loud effort. Quiet excellence. The kind that hits without warning and speaks without words. The kind that changes everything. Stay silent. Stay locked in. And let your results tell the story you never had to. But most people waste their strength trying to be seen. They spend their energy trying to be understood, accepted, validated. But you weren't born to be understood by everyone. You were born to become something most people won't comprehend until it's too late. That's the edge silence gives you. It frees you from the prison of needing permission. It liberates you from the addiction to being noticed. Because when you're no longer driven by being seen, you're finally free to do the work that matters, not the surface level work that looks good. The deep, uncomfortable, relentless work that actually transforms you. The reason silence is so powerful is because it removes performance from your progress. You stop doing things for show. You start doing them for substance. You don't need to announce your every move because your confidence is no longer tied to visibility. It's tied to execution. And execution doesn't need an audience. It needs commitment. Quiet work demands more discipline because it comes with no applause, no spotlight, no spotlight. Just you, your vision, and the decision to keep going even when no one sees your effort. That's where the real strength is built. That's where greatness is forged. The world will always be louder than your inner voice unless you choose to turn the volume down. Silence gives you that choice. It gives you space to think, space to feel, space to hear your own truth above the chaos. It teaches you to value your time, your attention, your focus. And when you master that, you stop reacting to things that don't matter. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't matter. You start walking with purpose, not for likes, not for attention, for impact, for change, for legacy. When you stop broadcasting your every intention, you protect your energy from doubt, from envy, from interference. Not everyone wants you to win. Not everyone can handle your potential. And that's okay. They don't have to. But you do. You have to believe in what you're building. You have to stay loyal to your path, even when it's invisible to others. Because it's not their job to see it, it's yours to create it. And when it's real, when it's done, when it's undeniable, they'll know. Not because you told them, but because you showed them. You're not falling behind. You're not being left out. You're doing something most people are too impatient to do. You're building without the need to be watched. And that makes you powerful. That makes you rare. Anyone can talk. Anyone can post. Anyone can post. But it takes real strength to stay silent in your grind and let the silence sharpen you. Let it strip away what's fake. Let it build what's unbreakable. You don't owe the world updates. You owe yourself results. Keep moving. Keep working. Keep growing. One day, the silence will break. And when it does, it won't be with noise. It will be with power so loud, the world won't have a choice but to listen. When you finally stop needing the world to notice your effort, you become dangerous. Because now you're working for something deeper than approval. You're driven by something no one can give you or take from you. Your own standard, your own vision, your own mission. And that kind of drive can't be distracted. It can't be shaken by likes, ignored by silence, or slowed by opinions. It's internal. Ancient, internal. And anything built from within will always outlast what's built for applause. That's what silent growth creates. Not just progress, but identity. A version of you that no longer needs to prove, only to produce. The world will tempt you to announce your every move. It will reward you for broadcasting intentions, not results. But intentions mean nothing without execution. Promises don't build legacies. Work does. And most of that work should happen behind closed doors, when no one's watching, when no one's clapping, when your only motivation is the person you said you'd become. Because that's who you're accountable to. Not the world. Not the doubters. Not even the supporters. Just the quiet voice inside that keeps asking, will you finish what you started? Silence helps you answer that question with action. It removes the pressure to impress and replaces it with the space to improve. You stop performing and start becoming. You stop explaining and start building. And every time you choose silence over spectacle, you strengthen the one thing most people never develop. Unshakable focus. The kind of focus that doesn't bend to distraction. The kind that doesn't crumble when nobody's watching. The kind that gets you where you're going, no matter who's clapping or who's not. Your power doesn't come from being seen. It comes from becoming undeniable. And the only way to get there is to do the work without the noise, without the need to be understood, without the need to be celebrated. Growth happens in private. Mastery happens in the dark. And the only ones who ever reach it are the ones willing to stay there long enough to become the person no one saw coming. Long enough to build something so solid, so real, so complete, that when it finally emerges, it doesn't ask for attention. It commands it. Keep your goals quiet. Let your discipline speak. Let your results answer every question. Because when you stay consistent in silence, you're not just building skills, you're building power. You're quiet. That's what makes it real. That's what makes it last. So hold the line. Stay invisible if you have to. Stay misunderstood if you must. But do not stop. Do not stop. Do not fold. Because your silence today is the sound of something incredible being. And when it's finished, the world will hear it without you saying a single word. The less they know, the more powerful you become. Not because you're hiding, but because you're choosing to protect your process. Because some visions are too sacred to be shared while they're still forming. Some goals are too raw, too personal, too real to be dragged into the noise of public opinion. And when you understand that, you stop leaking your energy into conversations that don't matter. You stop seeking reassurance from people who were never meant to understand your path. You start walking differently, not for attention, but for alignment, not for claps, but for clarity. You owe yourself the space to build without judgment. You owe your future the protection of privacy. Because every time you open your process to outside voices, you risk losing your rhythm. You risk trading momentum for opinion. You risk turning your mission into a performance. And the moment you let noise inside your vision, it stops being yours. It becomes filtered, compromised, watered down by the expectations of others. That's why silence is not just a strategy, it's a safeguard. It shields your purpose from distraction and lets it grow with strength, untouched by doubt, untouched by ego. You are not here to prove you're working. You're here to prove you're built for this, not with words, with results, with consistency, with a presence so grounded that you don't have to convince anyone. You just keep showing up. And every time you do, you're stacking proof, quietly, patiently, powerfully. And eventually that proof becomes so loud, it breaks through the silence on its own. You won't have to force it. You won't have to announce it. It will speak through everything you've become. That's what makes quiet growth so rare. It's not just about staying silent. It's about staying solid. It's about trusting your process enough to let it unfold without needing confirmation. It's about having the discipline to build with no audience and the strength to keep going with no applause. Most won't last through that. Most need the noise. Most need the attention. But you don't, because you've chosen the higher path. The one where the only validation that matters comes from your own reflection. The one where your peace is more important than your popularity. The one where your potential isn't performed. It's protected. Let others wonder what you're doing. Let them assume you're stagnant. Let them forget about you. It's better that way. Because when the time comes, and your results will break through louder than any post, louder than any announcement, louder than any doubt. And when they ask how you did it, you won't have to say a word. Because everything you built in silence will now speak for you. With authority, with clarity, with power. So stay quiet, stay focused, stay dangerous. The world doesn't need your updates, it needs your arrival. And when that moment comes, they'll realize you never disappeared. You were just working in silence, preparing for something they couldn't see until it was too late to ignore. There is a profound freedom in moving quietly through your journey, free from the chains of constant explanation. When you stop needing to justify your efforts to others, you reclaim your power. That power fuels relentless progress. You learn to trust the slow, steady process of growth without needing immediate validation. That trust creates resilience, the kind that carries you through setbacks, criticism, and the long stretches of loneliness on the path to success. It's tempting to seek recognition. The world seems to reward noise, applause, and visibility. But true mastery demands you transcend that temptation, because results born from performance are fragile. They crumble when the spotlight fades. Results forged in silence are different. They are real, lasting, and immune to external approval. They become the foundation for confidence that no circumstance can shake. The quieter you move, the more your results shout. And when that moment arrives, it will not only announce your success, it will validate every sacrifice you made in silence. You must understand that silence is not emptiness. It is not inactivity. It is fertile ground where focus grows deep roots. See, it is the space where discipline is cultivated daily, where patience strengthens your character, and where your vision takes shape without distraction. This is why silence is essential for anyone serious about transformation. It teaches you to value progress over praise, to find satisfaction in growth rather than applause. And this mindset shift is the true catalyst for lasting change. Silence also shields you from the most dangerous distractions, comparison and judgment. When you keep your goals private, you free yourself from the need to measure your worth against others or defend your journey. You become immune to the opinions that once held you hostage. Instead, your energy is reserved for building your future, not for explaining your present. This is freedom. Freedom to evolve on your own terms. Freedom to fail and rise again without public scrutiny. Freedom to cultivate the patience that true success demands. Hold tight to the power of silence as your secret weapon. Use it to deepen your focus, sharpen your discipline, and protect your energy. Keep moving quietly, steadily, intentionally, because in silence lies the power to change everything. The true measure of your progress is not in the noise you make, but in the depth of your commitment. When you silence the world's expectations and distractions, you create room for authentic growth. This growth isn't flashy or immediate. It's steady, unyielding, and transformative. It reshapes who you are, not just what you can do. And that transformation fuels a power far greater than temporary applause. It fuels an inner strength that carries you through every challenge, every setback, and every moment when giving up feels like the easier choice. This strength comes from knowing your worth doesn't depend on others' approval. It depends on your own persistence. Silence is the quiet forge where character is built. When you resist the temptation to broadcast your every effort, you cultivate patience, resilience, and unwavering focus. These qualities are essential because they protect your mind from doubt and your spirit from distraction. They keep you locked in on what matters most, building your vision with integrity and discipline. This is not a short game, it's a marathon. And every silent, focused step you take is a victory that no one can steal from you. By moving quietly, you also reclaim control over your narrative. When you announce your plans too early, you invite unnecessary pressure, criticism, and sometimes sabotage. You hand over your power to opinions that don't serve your purpose. But when you keep your progress private, you protect your momentum. You control the timing of your breakthroughs. You decide when and how to reveal your success, allowing your results to make the statement instead of your words. This is a subtle but powerful shift from performing for others to creating for yourself. There's a natural satisfaction that comes from working in silence. It's a satisfaction rooted in self-trust and self-reliance. You stop chasing external validation and start building an unshakable foundation from within. This foundation can withstand any storm because it's not dependent on applause or recognition. It's built on consistent effort and quiet confidence. Every task you complete, every challenge you overcome in silence, reinforces this foundation, making you stronger and more prepared for the inevitable moments when you must step forward and let your results speak. Silence also trains your mind to focus on what truly matters. It filters out distractions, noise, and the often toxic need for immediate gratification. When you're silent, your actions become intentional, your goals clearer, and your path more direct. You learn to prioritize substance over spectacle. You begin to understand that the loudest voices are not always the most valuable ones. True power grows in the spaces where you are most disciplined and consistent. Often unseen, often uncelebrated, but always building towards something greater. Embrace silence as your ally. Let it sharpen your focus, deepen your discipline, and protect your energy. Know that this quiet commitment is not wasted. It's compounding. One day, soon, your work will emerge so strong, so undeniable, that it will speak louder than any announcement ever could. When that day comes, you will not only have achieved your goals, you will have become the person capable of sustaining them. The power of moving in silence is the power to transform your life from the inside out, and that power is unstoppable. Your silence is not emptiness. It is power waiting to be unleashed. When you resist the urge to broadcast your every step, you guard your energy, protect your focus, and build an unshakable foundation beneath your dreams. The world is noisy, filled with distractions and opinions, but your greatest breakthroughs happen in the quiet spaces where discipline meets determination. Here, away from the spotlight, you cultivate a strength that no external force can erode. This strength fuels persistence when doubt creeps in and propels you forward when the path feels uncertain. Choosing silence requires courage. It means trusting the process without immediate recognition. It means believing in your worth without external validation. This courage isn't the absence of fear. It is the commitment to keep going despite it. Fear thrives on attention and noise. Silence starves it. When you move quietly, you strip away the distractions that feed doubt and insecurity. You create a sanctuary where your mind can focus, your skills can sharpen, and your vision can grow clearer. This is where transformation takes root. In silence, your actions become your voice. You stop explaining your progress and start showing it. Every quiet effort, every unseen hour, every small step forward builds momentum that can't be stopped. Results born from this place are authentic, resilient, and undeniable. They don't depend on applause or approval because they are grounded in real effort and real change. This kind of power speaks louder than words ever could. It commands respect not through boasting, but through undeniable achievement. Silence also protects you from the pitfalls of comparison. When you share too much too soon, you risk measuring your journey against others' highlights, not their struggles. You risk losing sight of your unique path in the noise of external expectations. But when you move silently, your focus sharpens. Your focus sharpens. You measure your progress only against your own standards, your own goals. This clarity brings peace. It frees you from the exhausting trap of seeking approval and allows you to cultivate a mindset of growth and resilience. The quiet path is not easy. It demands patience, discipline, and faith in the unseen work. But it is in this patience that your true power grows. Each day, you choose silence over noise, focus over distraction, and action over words. You reinforce your commitment to your vision. You become stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the moment when your results will burst forth with undeniable force. Until then, silence is your secret weapon, your sanctuary for growth, and your shield against doubt. Remember, moving in silence is not about hiding. It's about protecting your process and honoring your potential. It's about building with intention, steady progress, and unwavering belief. The moment your work is ready, it will speak volumes. It will speak volumes. Trust the silence. Trust yourself. Because in the quiet, you are creating a power that will change everything. Your greatest transformation happens when you stop seeking approval and start trusting the unseen process. Silence is the canvas where your true potential begins to paint itself. It's not about withdrawing from the world. It's about tuning out the noise that clouds your judgment and weakens your resolve. In that quiet, you find clarity, a sharp, unwavering focus that cuts through doubt and distraction. This clarity allows you to channel every ounce of energy into what truly matters: your growth, your vision, your relentless pursuit of excellence. When you move quietly, you refuse to let others' opinions dictate your pace. You refuse to let temporary judgment or external pressure derail your commitment. This freedom is radical. It allows you to embrace discomfort, uncertainty, and even failure without losing sight of your purpose. Because true power doesn't come from avoiding struggle. It comes from leaning into it with courage and persistence. Silence creates the mental space where this courage can thrive, away from the chaos that often pulls us off course. Progress made in silence is like roots growing deep underground, unseen but essential. It may feel slow, even invisible at times, but it's building a foundation so strong that when you emerge, your success cannot be shaken. This is the difference between fleeting triumphs and lasting victories. The world might demand instant results, but the quiet know that the most meaningful accomplishments take time to mature. Patience isn't just a virtue here, it's a necessity. It's the force that turns effort into excellence and dreams into reality. Silence also sharpens your self-awareness. Without the distraction of constant feedback, you begin to hear your inner voice more clearly. You learn what drives you, what scares you, and what you truly want. This self-knowledge is priceless because it becomes the compass that guides every decision, every action. When you listen to yourself more than the noise outside, your actions become aligned with your deepest values. This alignment creates unstoppable momentum because you are no longer chasing someone else's definition of success. You are creating your own. To move in silence is to reclaim your power to define your journey. It's to say no to performative success and yes to genuine progress. It's to understand that every small, consistent action counts more than any grand announcement. The silent builder knows that work done with integrity will eventually speak for itself, louder than any claim or promise. This mindset reshapes your relationship with achievement, shifting it from external validation to internal fulfillment. Remember, your silence is not a void. It is a source of strength, focus, and resilience. By honoring it, you protect your potential from being diluted by doubt, distraction, or premature exposure. You are nurturing a force so potent that when it finally reveals itself, it will be undeniable. Keep trusting the quiet process, keep refining your craft in solitude, and let your results rise with undeniable power. This is how greatness is born, quietly, steadily, and unshakably.